tell us about BVDW, your role there, and the CTV LAB?
Yeah, the BVDW is the German ILB, and we have different working groups, for example, for programmatic advertising, but also for video advertisement. And within this group regarding video advertisement, we have a lab, which is a smaller working group, which is focusing on connected TV. And in this group, for example, yeah, we are looking on the actual CTV market in Germany and look for possible standardizations, supporting our members and advertisers in Germany regarding how to do the first bookings on CTV. Why does it make sense? Is measuring possible? It's a very fast growing market at the moment because CTV becomes more and more popular and relevant for advertisers, also for smaller companies, small, medium-sized businesses, which weren't able to do advertisement on the big screen in the last 12 months or even in the time before because they didn't have the money or the audiences were not there. We are now able to reach around 70% of the German households with connected TV, which might be around 50 million people, because many of those are now watching streaming content offered by the big stations and the free players like Amazon or Waipu TV, Pluto TV, etc.
One of the primary things we hear when we're talking with clients or prospects is challenges with fraudulent bundle IDs. That's what Pixalate calls them. They might be malformed bundle IDs. They might not be the proper app identifiers. Pixalate measures anywhere from 20 to 50%, depending on the region and platform, of bundle IDs being used for transacting CTV apps are fraudulent, which means it's impossible in some cases to map it to what's the actual app. And that's a huge vector for ad fraud, right? Because if the identifiers are being used and you don't even know what you're buying, fraudsters take advantage of that quickly. We call it the bundle ID integrity score. It's one of the metrics in our quality rankings where we rank CTV ad sellers based on their overall quality, and making sure that they're using proper bundle IDs is one of those ranking factors. So I want to hear, in the German market, has that problem come up yet? Do you think kind of those more sophisticated tech problems have reached the market yet? Or
bundle ID mapping is a challenge we have, and it's good that you offer the opportunity to receive those bundle IDs to translate them. For example, if we have ad impressions and we can see the bundle IDs in the ad server log files, for example, then we use your informations to translate them and see if there might be something that could be fraudulent. The number of fraudulent impressions is not that high in comparison to other countries. That might be related to the fact that in Germany, most of the inventory is sold not in the open market. My personal opinion is that it's 98%, which is not in the open market. You can only buy it by a programmatic guaranteed or by preferred deals. So we are in contact with the vendors like Amazon or 7-One Media or Ad Alliance or who else, and they offer all those inventories, I guess, the most times as a programmatic guaranteed deal.
Is that slice of open slowly growing in Germany or slowly shrinking? Because there's a lot of inventory to fill. I'm assuming more and more of the German market. You mentioned over 50 million people are watching CTV and reachable through CTV. There's a lot of that inventory to fill, and we've seen programmatic channels be used to fill that inventory.
I think not actually, because we are still talking with the vendors directly, and there's less CTV inventory in the open market. When we are talking about the big screen, it might be different when you talk about OTT and online video, then you have more open market. But when as many advertisers actually are focusing on the big screen, then we are more in the direct relationship and buying it via guaranteed deals.
You mentioned fraud earlier, how you feel in those more closed loop ecosystems, it's much lower. In the open space, Pixalate measures the German market to be a touch below overall EMEA in terms of invalid traffic rate on connected TV devices. What do you feel has been working outside of a very large percentage of CTV being transacted directly? What do you feel has been working in the German market to keep fraud lower?
I think one of the best things you can do to prevent fraud or invalid traffic is, as mentioned before, doing the direct bookings. And if you need technology, or if you can use technology like Pixalate or other vendors, it's also very helpful. Monitoring the inventory and see where do you get fraudulent impressions from and where not. We have not so much invalid traffic in Germany, and it also depends on the definition. What's important for us at the BVDW is that we will be able to have a standardized, let's say, wording. So what do we mean when we talk about invalid traffic? What do we mean when we talk about fraud? Fraud is a criminal thing, and not every impression we receive there, which might be not as we were expecting it, an example regarding brand safety or the content where it's running on, is fraudulent. So we need to be a little bit more sensitive by the wording. So I'm not sure what your numbers are about when you say it's in the teens. When we look at the numbers we know about, then it's far below 10%.
You bring up two really great points. One is, the definitions, and I'll clarify, brand safety issues are not part of that invalid traffic number. And invalid traffic includes general invalid traffic, but also sophisticated invalid traffic, which that is where the intent comes from. That's usually where people would call something ad fraud. So for example, app spoofing, a long tail CTV app mimicking a top tier quality CTV app. We see that happening all the time. We see it happening actually pretty commonly. Mobile app traffic in the background, they will spoof a CTV platform because obviously the CPMs are much higher. It's for the fraudsters, they view it as like a magic trick to turn a $1 CPM into a $20 CPM. And that, threatens through no fault of their own, those CTV publishers, because it kind of erodes some of that trust when the threat is actually coming from somewhere completely different. And I think that's why a lot of standards like ads.txt and keeping sellers.json updated are incredibly important. The other thing you mentioned that I thought was a great point was like, where is this fraud coming from? And that's actually why Pixalate publishes numerous different free resources, which is the Publisher Trust Index, which I mentioned. You can go look up a publisher and you can look at their traffic in Germany, and you can see which publishers have really trustworthy traffic in Germany and which ones have traffic that Pixalate's flagging for invalid traffic. And go down the chain one level, you can look at the sellers and see which sellers have the highest, cleanest inventories. I looked at the paper that the BVDW put out, and it mentions that too many intermediaries are selling the same inventory and how that can kind of lead to campaign cannibalization. What protocols or advice do you have to address that?
I guess it's okay to have several intermediaries selling the same inventory, but you need to know about this, who's offering what, and then you can select which, let's say, inventory you want to buy at which vendor. I would say the best thing would be to monitor what you're buying using supply chain analysis, an example. But what you can also use are vendors which do audience validation, so that you can see an example that you reach the same audience by different vendors, and then you can decide based on those numbers which vendors do you need to get an incremental reach, an example.
Something Pixalate works on is those kind of node combinations using the supply chain object. Traffic from a publisher might be high quality through node A, B, and C, but node D might be the problematic one. And if you can block just that problematic node, the rest are clean, and you can continue to buy from that partner. Final thoughts? Where do you see the German market for CTV expanding?
I think the market will still keep expanding within the next 12 months or 24 months. And what we are working on is offering more support regarding standardization. Mentioned before, we need more measurement opportunities. We need to understand the numbers. We need to do the same wordings and definitions. Keep my fingers crossed that the CTV vendors will also support us there, like using ads.txt, an example, or supporting being more transparent regarding correct bundle IDs, etc. So we are asking everybody to support us and to getting conversation and communication with us.